What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Touchdowns to Home Runs. My name is Bernie. Thank you for joining us today on the Touchdowns to Home Runs show. Hope that your day is going absolutely fantastic. Now, I know we're within only about a week or two into this year's MLB season, but for Vlad Guerrero Jr., I've seen some big improvements from him at the plate, his approach at the plate, and what he's been able to produce statistically in the Blue Jays lineup. Again, Guerrero's only 22 years old, currently playing first base. But from what I've seen so far this season, his stats are not at all a fluke, and there's been some big improvements on sort of the behind-the-scenes and sort of Statcast stats that we're going to break down today on what's made Guerrero really so successful at the beginning part of the season. Before we get into those behind-the-scenes stats, though, and take a look at the exit velocity, his approach at the plate, and what has really made him successful, let's take a look at what he's done so far in the early part of this 2021 campaign. We're talking about 46 at-bats, 6 extra base hits, which includes 3 doubles, 3 home runs, so his power numbers are definitely there. And as we'll look at in just a second, exit velocity and the way he's hitting the ball and how hard he's hitting the ball is actually better than even his previous years where he was still hitting the ball very hard. Driven in 10 runs, 413 average, great slash line overall, 526 OBP, 674 slugging, and an OPS right on 1200. The chart that I'm showing now is from a site called baseballsavant.com. If you haven't watched a video where I break down players in the past, Baseball Savant is basically a site that looks beyond really just the basic home run, RBIs, average type numbers, and really combines some of the other measurable metrics that not a lot of people talk about: exit velocity, launch angle, chase rate, things like that. And they really show you how good a player has been in terms of his at-bats, because we know that baseball, sometimes stats, you can get those lucky hits. BaseballSavant.com and the way they break down stats really show you how good and quality these at-bats have been from Vlad Guerrero Jr. The first 2 stats that I want to look at are, of course, to do with exit velocity. 91st percentile in average exit velocity, 99th percentile in max exit velocity. He's hit the ball hard in 2019 and 20, but he's hitting it even harder in 2021. Why? Because he's sitting back on his back foot with some of that lost weight. He's able to close his hips, sit back on those breaking balls, but still drive those fastballs. Just a much better overall swing, a cleaner, more compact swing at the plate. He's essentially hitting the ball the hardest out of anybody in baseball right now in terms of max exit velocity. Similar stat to that is hard hit percentage, of course, 73rd percentile, so he's well into the upper part of Major League Baseball in terms of how hard and how consistently he's hitting the baseball at a really high exit velocity. A stat that I love is X slugging percentage, or adjusted slugging percentage, depending on how you know it. But basically what this stat does is it takes into consideration, your exit velocity, your launch angle, your hard hit percentages, barrel percentage, and sort of combines that into a metric that says this is basically the number on what your slugging percentage should be based on the positions that you're putting yourself into given your at-bats. And in 2021, we see Guerrero with a very good slugging percentage, right? His slash line in general is fantastic this year. But what this stat is basically showing us is it's not a fluke. Guerrero's putting himself into at-bats, like I've said before, to be successful, and that's exactly what he's done so far. 2 more stats in this sort of chart that I really like. Chase percentage, 84%. Guerrero's had trouble since he's come into the major leagues in 2019 and 20 with chasing balls outside of the strike zone, particularly those breaking balls. But this year, being able to sit on those more, still drive the fastballs, but also a much better breaking ball hitter. Not only is he hitting the breaking balls better, but he's making pitchers throw the breaking balls over the plate, not chasing them, not giving them extra strikes, making the pitchers come to him. He's getting those pitches to hit, even though he is getting more breaking balls this year, as we'll talk about in just a second. That's why Guerrero's so good. Guerrero also lost about 40 pounds in this offseason, and although he's not a speedster in terms of sprint speed, he's actually now in the upper part of Major League Baseball. He's above average. Just shows he's a lot more mobile, and that does a ton for the Blue Jays defensively, and potentially being able to move Guerrero from first base to third base in the future when they need some of that positional eligibility. But overall, I think his swing needed to be more mobile. It allows him to sit on the back foot. It allows him to elevate that baseball, get some of the launch angle he had a lot of trouble with last year when he wasn't really in shape and when he was just sort of driving the ball into the ground. But now he's hitting the ball hard, but he's also got the ability now to elevate that baseball. That's why we see the OPS along with the on base. We see the extra base hits as well. All those numbers skyrocketing. So this is a chart here also given to us by BaseballSavant.com. It's a really, really interesting chart to show some of the improvements, again, in that mentality and approach that Guerrero is having during each one of his at-bats. Now, Guerrero sort of struggled in that 2020 campaign. That was a shortened season, but again, he still struggled. But he was getting about 61% of fastballs thrown to him in comparison to 24.5% of the pitches that he faced being breaking balls. We see inflections technically the wrong ways in terms of the type of hitter that we think Guerrero is. He wants to hit the fastballs, but we've seen now him being thrown 61% of fastballs, now to only 55% fastballs, and an increase in breaking balls he's facing from 24.5 all the way up to 37.2. So he's getting those tougher pitches from pitchers. But again, like I was saying before, and like we'll talk about in just a second, with this opposite field approach that Guerrero has, he's got the ability to keep his hips closed. And when you keep his hips closed, he's able to stay back, not fly open, not only elevate the baseball, but he's not really flaring at breaking balls like we've seen him do over the course of the past 2 seasons. He's sitting back, he's driving the fastballs, he's driving the breaking balls, he's not chasing the breaking balls, making pitchers throw their secondary pitches over the heart of the plate, and he's made them pay so far this season. I find this chart really interesting. It's in an overall stat called batted ball profile. Basically what this particular table is showing us is where Guerrero's hitting the ball. You know, is he pulling it? What's his pull percentage, his straight percentage, hitting the ball towards center field, up the middle, and also his opposite field percentage? You know, is he pushing that baseball? His pull percentage in 2019 and 20 sat right about 36, 37, 38 type percent. He's down 10% this year, meaning, you know, an extra 10% is going up the middle or to the right side of the field. He's now hitting the ball to, you know, center or to the right side about 70% of the time, which is absolutely fantastic. Again, it does so much for his approach and so much for him to be able to hit those breaking balls. We see the straight percentage right up. We see the opposite field percentage up a bit as well. We've seen the same adjustment that Randall Grichuk made last year. We see Guerrero making it now. And, you know, an easy way to think of this, even if you're not really a baseball stats guy, is when you're playing Little League Baseball, what's the one thing that coaches always tell you? Think, drive that ball up the middle. That's what Guerrero's doing. He's doing it so effectively right now. But he's really making defenses and pitchers struggle because he's able to use the whole field. We've already seen him hit an opposite field home run at Yankee Stadium that would have gone out in 29 of the 30 ballparks. His overall hitting, the stats, the measurables are all fantastic. One final stat, now we've sort of already touched on this, but solid percentage and barrel percentage. His solid percentage is up from 6 to almost 14%, which is obviously well over 50%. And he's barreling up almost 3.5% more baseballs, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a tremendous, tremendous improvement. Not only is he hitting the ball harder, not only is he hitting the breaking balls better, but he's actually squaring up the baseballs a whole lot better as well. You know, these stats, again, still, it's very, very early in 2021. But Guerrero was a great hitter in the minor leagues. He was great throughout his entire minor league career, getting on base, not chasing breaking balls. And then sort of everybody forgot about that when he wasn't so great at that in the first 2 years at the major league level. What we're seeing from Guerrero is not a fluke. I don't think anybody thinks it is, but these stats and the measurables and all these Statcast things that we're seeing behind the scenes really prove that it's not a fluke. Guerrero's a fantastic hitter when he gets on base. I think he could be one of the best hitters in all of Major League Baseball. I think he's such a pure hitter. His bat control, his plate discipline is so great when Guerrero's actually on, and I think we're just starting to see the peak of that at the early part of this season. Anyways, guys, if you made it to this point in the video, thank you. Let me know your thoughts on what you've seen from Vladimir Guerrero so far in this 2021 season. Also, let me know what you guys think and your predictions for what you guys think Vladdy and how he's going to end the 2021 campaign. Also, down in the comment section below, if there's any other player that you want me to break down, I love making these types of stats videos, so I'd love to keep on making these videos. So if there's any player in particular that you want to see me break down, definitely make sure to drop that player name down in the comment section below. Anyways, if you did enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe to Touchdowns to Home Runs, and be doing me a huge, huge favor as we try to push for 6,000 subscribers. And we'll be covering Major League Baseball and doing these types of breakdowns throughout the entire Major League season. So if this is something you like, definitely make sure to stick around. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you again next time.